Hey guys, you know what? This past week was incredible. It was James Webb Space Telescope all week long. Mm-hmm. And I was super excited to see those images that came out last week. What about you?
Oh yeah, the ones at Jupiter just blew my mind.
What did that look like for you as an artist? What did that remind you of?
So I keep saying it's biology. It all looks like biology. It all looks like when you look, what is the saying? So above is so below,
yes,
or what is that
as
saying?
above, so below.
It's exactly
witchy.
it.
Yeah.
I thought it was incredible. I thought it was, we might as well be looking through a microscope.
Yes. It just shows you that, at least in our solar system, that everything is connected in some way.
Yep.
That you see certain forms repeat, and the images of Jupiter look to me like if you poured some blue liquid, and then you poured heavy cream,
right?
And you just swirl it around,
right? Or even gas and water, how it mixes, and you kind of swirl. Yeah, it blew my mind.
Different weights, and I'm going to say specific gravities of liquids. It was incredible. It was just, and that was just one of them.
Yeah.
And I think the world's collective mind was blown by those images.
For me, the images looked like the last maybe 3 times I got my eyes checked, they did this new scan for, I think it's cataracts, I don't know. They do this scan inside your eye, and it's this picture that they take. And that's what it looked like. All those fuzzy,
wow, really?
Gaseous clouds and stuff. Those images look just like
your eyeball with the iris looks like a black hole. It's kind of weird. Like again, it's that pattern of this I'll say this solar system because I don't know, just repeats in different ways in a microcosm. We are a microcosm of the whole universe. Yep. At least that's what those pictures revealed to me. And there were some pictures where you saw different galaxies.
Oh, that was amazing.
That composite with like all of those galaxies, and
we should put that up. Some of these different pictures. So the galaxy one that they showed, they also said that is the equivalent of holding a grain of sand in between your fingers and putting it at arm's reach and looking up at that sand. That's as big as it is.
Wow.
That one little speck is all those galaxies.
Oh, God. It's just my human mind has a hard time grasping the scale of what you just shared. Now I know I want to talk some more about the photos, but a little piece on the James Webb Telescope that I read about, that it's 100 times more powerful than Hubble.
Correct.
And I was fascinated by Hubble, but you could see situations where Hubble was fuzzy. But since it was all that we had, it was, amazing. And it's still amazing what Hubble did for us. The mirror on the James Webb Telescope is 6 times more surface area. So 6 times larger. And that's part of what allows it to look so deep into space and reflect back. Now, JP, you had a story that you shared about the approach that they took to the James Webb expedition. Could you share that again? You shared it offline, so could you share that again?
Which approach was that?
Where they took it a certain number of miles out.
Oh, that was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
so,
I'm sorry.
Interesting. Just like if you live in a city and you really can't see the stars by looking up because of all the light pollution.
Right.
But you go, 20 miles out into the country, you can see the Milky Way. Same premise. They shot the satellite 1 million miles past Earth in the proper direction that the Earth covered up the sun. So They shot it far enough so the Earth would shield the sun, so they could see even more stars.
So it's like blocking out a street light.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the sun. It's a monster, right? So they went a million miles out to do that, which is what's given them a lot clearer images, also.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say this telescope was designed, as you've shared, designed to explore deep space.
Right.
And I read that it sent back images, because the light that we're receiving on our planet from wherever is light that was sent out
forever ago.
hundreds of millions of years ago in some cases, right? So we could be seeing light from stars that have already died.
Oh, probably
that have already
most certainly
supernovaed.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. So it was interesting to say that in this case of James Webb, it's designed to explore deep space 13 million light years ago. Mm-hmm. So this is the past that it's showing. And they were trying to get as close to the Big Bang as they could. And they only got about 800 million years after the Big Bang. They couldn't get all the way there.
Wow.
But you should know that they're already, took 20 years to get this thing in production. And, partially the technology wasn't quite there to get the mirror as large and the power, to keep the power on as long. The Hubble did pretty well with the tech we had when it was sent. So they're already working on the next version of this thing.
The Roman.
Yes.
Is that what it's
It's
called?
called
Yes.
the Roman in 2027
Yes.
that launches.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Then that's for one of they want to see dark matter.
Oh, man.
So this one's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
This is becoming a little quantum. This is a whole different game.
So it's a different light spectrum that
Yeah,
they'd be
that's
trying
right.
to view versus the visible. This is infrared.
right.
believe
And they
so.
want us to be able to see the curvature of space and time.
Yeah.
Is what they're looking for.
That's amazing.
I mean, I don't even know what any of that means, but it sounds fantastic.
Well, I think someone levied a criticism that the photos that we saw weren't real, that they'd been doctored. Not that they were fake,
Right.
but that they had been doctored. And the way I'm gonna. Okay, so NDT, our favorite astrophysicist NDT, said that it was the equivalent of, humans can't see infrared light, so the pictures were beamed back, but they had to color treat them so we could actually see them, the visible
Yeah.
spectrum that we can see. So it was the closest thing to authentic images that we could get, because our eyes can't see.
But
in
it's
that
still
spectrum.
it's still the conversion though.
Absolutely,
is
it's consistent.
The same thing.
It's consistent. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what NDT was saying. NDT, for all of you, stands for Neil deGrasse Tyson. So he explained that recently. But I wanted
We're
to
all really big fans of him here.
Neil deGrasse.
Yeah. Or not.
I know Lindy's not a big fan. I actually had the privilege to meet the man before I knew who he was. It was very funny. So this was like 2012.
That's when he was just Neil Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all three names. No, I was at this event, dating myself. It was an event through the Clinton Foundation some time ago, and they mentioned that the New York's the astrophysicist from the New York Planetarium was there, and I was like, "Who's that?" Like, I had no idea who it was, and I got a picture of myself with him.
You did?
Oh yeah, I got me a picture with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I did not know who he was at the time, but he since went on to become quite popular.
Oh yeah.
Or quite famous. I'm going to say it that
Yeah,
way.
very sure.
Quite famous. So back to James Webb and the telescope. So I was looking at some of these images, and many of them, there's the composite of all the different galaxies, which was mind-blowing, as you said. Then there were these photos of individual galaxies that had this like dust cloud around them, It you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like a cosmic womb.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like to me.
I could see that.
And some looked even like mitochondria. If you've ever seen under a microscope what it looks like when a cell divides, like a human cell, a single human cell, when it divides, or birth in the womb of our own species, a single cell dividing, there are galaxies that look like that. Only imagine that instead of taking milliseconds like it does at our level of existence, and you're a galaxy, imagine how long it takes for that quote cell to divide. And it just looks like when you see those photos, it looks like there are these cosmic wombs birthing galaxies and
that's
all
what
over
it
the place.
right. It was a nebulous they were looking into,
amazing.
Right? So that was, and well, certainly long time ago it happened, but isn't that kind of the birth of a star? Isn't that what they were looking at?
Yeah.
That's what those parts were.
Without question, that is what's happening. And I think the thing that I believe James Webb telescope photos are showing us, even more with more clarity than Hubble did. Hubble opened our minds. Okay, it really did. James Webb, since it's seeing so far into the past, I'll say, I think it's almost a quantum leap forward in our understanding of our galaxy, the nature of life, what constitutes life, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But then, what's our place in it? What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be alive? I'll just leave it like that. And I would say that those galaxies, the planets inside them, aren't they a form of life? It's just not the kind of life we know is in our mammalian earthling.
Well, in my opinion, it's a form of energy.
Well, sure.
Which is what we are.
Yeah.
So
there's an image that was been shared around, and you shared it too. I had copied it and saved it, but it's it's from Pablo Carlos Budassi, and it's an image of the entire universe as seen by the sun being the central figure.
And this is the known universe for us.
The known universe.
Okay.
And it looks like an eyeball if you're holding it out. And as you zoom in, it's got all the different galaxies and all the nebulas and stars.
And the very outer edge of that rendering looks like sort of chromosomes, right? Tentacles.
Yes.
As you get to the farthest
How do they know that?
edge.
How do they know?
I don't know.
Is this again with the the theory of or speculating? I'm sure they have to be at some point.
I think they do, and we've said this before.
Yeah.
It takes, the imagination of an artist to bring to life and vision what we all know but can't see. And it makes a big difference. And I do love that rendering. I think it's kind of like it reminds me of the rendering that it comes from the Renaissance. And you've seen it. There's a sun, that Renaissance style. There's a sun, and then you see a guy crawling under the veil. He's halfway in underneath the veil on one side, and it starts to think about this thin veil between dimensions. That's the first time I think humanity ever kind of visualized what a veil between two dimensions could be. And this is a similar moment.
You think so? We're getting a peek into something brand new.
I do.
Okay, so here's the thing that I think. So the Hubble.
Yeah.
We've only had space telescopes for 30 years.
Right.
The rest of them were land-based. So, you can only see so far with the land-based. Yeah. So we initially thought that the dots, we considered them stars up there.
The light dots.
The light dots, okay, that's a star. Then we got a little closer and we realized, well, that's possibly a galaxy.
Yeah.
Now we've gotten so far in partly because the Earth was blocking the sun. They were able to see in the tiniest little space that those are all galaxies. What they're saying, and this is what blows my mind. Today, they believe that there is at least 1 trillion galaxies in the universe.
Trillion?
Yeah. And each galaxy has 1 trillion stars. So, and that's not it. Ooh. And 1 trillion planets. I mean, they're in the trillions. You know, you got to guess here a little, but,
sure.
They know the difference between billions to trillions. And they're saying it's 50 to 80 billion rock-like Goldilocks planets in our Milky Way.
So by Goldilocks, you mean
the Goldilocks
not too hot,
zone.
not too cold, just right?
Where the Earth is as opposed to the sun, how it sits.
For the kind of life
say it again, 50 to 80 billion rock-like planets in the Goldilocks zones in our Milky Way.
Our Milky Way.
In our Milky Way.
Oh my gosh. That's one galaxy.
That's just one.
Out of all the...
Well, so now we talk about, is there life somewhere else? It's just not even a question.
How can it be
You'd
statistically?
be insane to think that there isn't. That just blows my mind. And, it wasn't too long ago, we couldn't see any of that.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, I was just thinking, sure, that's a star. It's like it's a little sun up there. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't it.
Twinkling.
I didn't realize that little sun is a whole galaxy.
Yeah, no.
We didn't know that.
We didn't.
Oh, they showed images of Orion's belt, I believe, and there was all kinds of crazy stuff going on in there. It's like I posted something, and there was a picture of a galaxy that supposedly resembled a bat, right?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And it was 1,200 light years away. And a light year is 5.2 trillion miles.
Well, we're talking a lot of T's. We got a lot of trillions going tonight.
Need lots of snacks for that.
So 5.2 trillion miles away. And so, when you think of how we put descriptions on things and how we measure things, it's almost like, Canadians use kilometers, right? They use the metric system.
Yeah.
You just cross the border and we have miles, and it's a different measurement, right? So you go out in the outer space, which has always been an unknown, kind of, for us.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the smarter intellectuals
right. We don't even look up enough.
Right.
We just keep walking straight.
Like Zachariah Sitchins.
Yeah.
But anyways, we, like you were saying, you look up in the sky and you see a star. And then later in life, maybe when you're 12, somebody says, oh, that's actually Venus. And you're like, oh, wow, that's not even...
That's just a planet.
That's a planet? Really? And now it's like you see Venus all the time.
Yeah.
Or Mars or whatever.
Your mind expands around the information you receive, and you accommodate it and accommodate it and accommodate it. And, that's how knowledge is built over time.
Yeah.
Unless the world resets, which we've talked about in the past. But so let's assume the knowledge is adding to itself right now. What do you guys think the next level of that knowledge could be?
What I was getting to, and along the same train of thought, is... So the way that we measure things, we say 5.2 trillion miles. So what about learning what other measurements are? Because time here is pretty much related to
gravity.
The sun and gravity. And
it's kind of got to be, really.
But what about out someplace else? What is it? It's got to be completely different.
I think I understand what you're saying. So,
totally different.
So you could. I think we're going to learn with quantum physics that it's not about distance.
No.
It's not going to be about distance. There's no way you have ETs coming here from trillions of miles away. They figured out that way.
What I'm getting at is wherever they're coming from, their time is different than ours.
I agree with that. Their concept. So we have 365 days in a year. We have 60 seconds in a minute, right? You know, 60 minutes in an hour. Somebody created that. And they did it based on our terrestrial habits, our environment, right?
And also the longevity of life.
Right. And that has to do with gravity, and it has to do with, you know, the rotation of our planet around the sun. It has to do with a lot of different things.
So if you have, and I'm going super deep, and my mind's about to explode. So if you have the reason we're alive for a certain amount of time is because all that, right? Mm-hmm. So your cells at a cellular level are calculating time the same exact way the rest of your body. You know, I mean, everything is calculated because it's all aging at the same rate, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you go out to where time is different, things are aging. People, like these beings, could be living these like to
they live
us,
in hundreds of thousands of years, but you come here on Earth, but out there it's 20 minutes or a month.
So if there's a Big Bang, right? And do we know where the center of the Big Bang is?
Yeah, I don't know that we know that.
So like,
and then what happened before the Big Bang? So there's so many, like, you know, one thing I was thinking, maybe we have just decided our lives are going to be about 100 years if you're really lucky. It's consciousness. It's intent. It's what we've made up as being our lives. But maybe, we've talked about this before, the power of the mind. If we said we were going to live 200 years, our cells might program themselves to live 200 years because we're in control of them anyway. But, you can kind of think about that in the vastness of space. If it's all consciousness is what we're learning. Stephen Greer does this with his CE5s. I mean, they've been calling in UFOs with laser counters and intent. What if out there is easy to touch as our minds being able to go there? So there's no distance anymore. And that quantum physics is getting to that anyway. String theory's going there. Is that it's just a thought. This is all just a thought. It's not distance. There's no distance anymore.
I totally get that. At the most esoteric level, I completely agree with what you just said. And yet I struggle in this reality, this collective reality we're inhabiting together. I struggle to figure out how to get where you're talking about.
I don't know how to get there either. It blows my own mind.
But you do in your dreams. In your dreams, you travel.
Yep, astro.
And I'm going to call them dreams, in quotes. In your dreams, you travel.
Yep.
So if what you're saying is true, we ought to be able to live longer. Mm-hmm. And yet, I haven't talked about this yet. I'm not going to go down this tangent. I'm only going to say this one fact. There is some evidence that our DNA has been limited, that it has been the set point has been changed. Mm-hmm. That
they put a governor on
like
it.
A road speed governor on that rental truck from the U-Haul.
Yep.
They don't want you to go any further, so they limit it to about 100. 125 is about as old as most people are getting now, as nutrition and other things have improved.
125? Is that what you said?
Yeah. And that's not average. That's the max. There have been a few outliers that have gotten a little older than that, but that's about as old as people have gotten. And then the median age is 80 now in America. In Japan, it's close to 100.
Really?
They're just healthier. They walk a lot. They eat a lot less.
They're heavy smokers, aren't they?
Yeah, but they eat a lot less.
Oh, yeah.
They're stressed. They have a lot of stress. That conforming to society is a pretty stressful business. But in terms of longevity, there are some places where that occurs that, there are environmental factors. But There's pretty much that age governor on our DNA that stops us. And I mean, I'm not going to get into telomeres and all that other stuff, but there are all these factors. And then at some point, I want to tell you what it says in the Hermetic texts, in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, about age extension. But we're not talking about that today.
Do you say Thoth?
Thoth, okay. Yes, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth.
That's and if Billy Carson right there.
Talk maybe about the Anunnaki, which I know we're going to get to later. That's all involved. But I want to circle back on the James Webb and sort of what I think James Webb means for all of us. And we've talked a little bit about what it means, but I think for the idea that there are other forms of life in our galaxy or even in another galaxy, to me, is absolute. There is no question in my mind that that's possible and is highly likely. So let's talk for just a second about what that means to us as humans. And I'm just going to frame it up, and I want you guys to just jump in. So the idea of aliens as other, okay? The very word alien means other. When we call them that. Extraterrestrial is a better term. That still means outside of our Earth, outside of Earth, extraterrestrial. So, humans, we're not so good with otherness. That's not a thing we like too much. Even if you're from the west side and I'm from the east side, you're from Texas and I'm from California. Oh my goodness. You might as well be from, like we say, different planets.
They're tougher in New York.
Yeah, and yet New Yorkers they're good with a lot of change, and they're good with a lot of different types of people. It's pretty incredible. Then, when you think about aliens, quote aliens, we expect them potentially to be different from us, right? We expect them to be different. And then we're going to have different reactions. What do you think the reactions might be to extraterrestrials? I'm going somewhere, so just play with me. What do you think the reactions? What are some, name a reaction you might have?
So you're setting up a scenario if the James Webb, we see an alien waving at us in a photo?
Yeah.
What's the reaction?
Yeah. Different people. We're just talking about different voices.
I think you're going to have
fear.
Lots of fear and a lot of denial. I think denial.
It's a hoax. This picture's
Absolutely.
not real. Okay. Yeah. What?
Well, I think it
what's
depends.
Another scenario?
I think it depends. I think if we're talking about an image captured from a telescope, then I think it's going to be more of excitement for everybody because it's not because it's
out there,
light years away.
It's still out there.
It's still not threatening because it's
I don't think it's going to be.
It's still 2D, right? It's still a two-dimensional object.
Or potentially it's still 130 million light years away. So
right. They're dead by now anyway.
And I will be by the time anything gets here.
I mean, I'm imagining something like the Death Star that we would see. Like that's not a planet. That's something built by somebody.
That's no moon. Yes, exactly. So fear, excitement, maybe welcoming with open arms,
relief,
denial.
Denial. Yeah, all these different emotions. And then the last one that's the most damaging, we treat them as gods.
Yeah, right.
Because we're programmed to do that.
And that's been said that it's possible that the aliens don't come down and land on the White House lawn because we'll treat them we'll either shoot holes in them or we'll treat them like gods.
Well, yeah. So we'll get back to that point, but I want to stick on this idea of otherness, this concept of otherness, because we see it play out everywhere. Like, you're from this country and I'm from that country, and I'm going to invade you and take your stuff. And there's always the point that, you're from this planet that's more technologically advanced than me, and you're going to come and take my stuff. Or you're going to try to turn me into something, or you're going to use me as food. There's all these possibilities, right? You're going to steal my gold, in the case of the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
But, when you think about otherness, even on our own planet, why are there some animals, some mammals that we want to cuddle? and some that we don't. So what's the difference?
Why there's some animals that we want to eat and some we don't?
Because cockroaches are ugly as shit. They
Great.
just are. They're fucking gross.
I don't want to eat bugs, but it sounds like we're headed that way.
Yeah.
But like a bear versus a tarantula. A bear is way more fierce and scary than a tarantula. Like a bear can hurt you. But like people are less afraid of bears than they are of tarantulas.
Interestingly enough, neither of them know each other exists.
Exactly.
Oh.
And, one is a mammal. A bear is a mammal. It has live babies. It doesn't lay eggs.
It doesn't molt.
There you go. I think molting would be kind of cool. You mean I could just get rid of this and I could grow taller? I'm kind of for that. I kind of want that.
Sorry, guys. I'm molting this week. I can't go.
I can't come out. I got at least 3 months before I can come. So, it's that concept of otherness, like the bear versus the tarantula. And then I think I want to explore for just a second that, when you think about different types of life that would be possible, you got to understand that, the beings that we might encounter in those galaxies evolved under different physical circumstances, different timelines, different gravity, different elemental air, water, and other things, whatever it would be called on their planet. It might not even be called. It might not even be called air and water, right? It would have a different name. But the idea of the inhalation, ingestion of some, way to breathe and live and move through the world. So you got to understand that could be very different. We might be so confused by the otherness that there's some examples. As humans, we might be so confused by otherness that we don't even recognize it as a living being.
Yeah.
Think about it. Trees.
Yeah.
Okay. We see trees all the time, but until recently, the consciousness for most of the world that a tree is a living being
right
is not been there. It's like, oh, it's just a tree. It's not alive. Like, I'm just going to cut it down. I'm just going to, yeah, it doesn't talk. It doesn't do anything. No, not true. It's just a different form of life than you are. What about slime? Have you seen some of these pictures of this slime that is moving around?
Oh.
It can solve puzzles. You can put it in a maze like a mouse.
Solving slime?
Yes.
Puzzle solving slime?
That's a good tongue twister.
Puzzle solving slime.
I think I need a T-shirt with that on there. So
you can't do that on television. The show.
Yes. Yeah. That was a British production, Canadian or British?
I think it was Canadian. Yeah,
might have been Canadian. So, puzzle solving slime.
Yeah.
A form of life that you don't recognize.
Is that something from the ocean? Where's this slime coming from?
There are some slimes that are from the ocean. There are some that are from the forest.
Okay.
Fungi?
Is that fungi slime?
No, they communicate.
The communication of fungi.
Right.
The fact that some plants release spores that communicate.
They have languages.
They do. So tell me, even among us on this planet right now, there are forms of life that we don't recognize as living beings. Can we sort of make room for that possibility right now, right? So, let's talk about religion for a second. Okay, extraterrestrials come from somewhere else. They make it here. Would you take them to church with you, and would you ask your pastor to baptize them? Would you baptize this slime, or would you baptize
not if it was the creatures from Signs?
Yeah, right. That was crazy.
Stuff.
Do you know one of the popes?
I
don't know which pope it was. He said, aliens are God creatures too, and we'd be happy to. They can be born again like the rest of us.
Well, it was crazy. He said, kind of had to say that to keep the keep the dream alive.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, fascinating, right?
I wouldn't take him to church. Maybe a baseball game.
You wouldn't? Yeah. So baseball, yes. Share your culture, but maybe not your religion. Maybe not your indoctrination. So, okay, there's that. You guys aren't playing with me on this one, so I'm going to go sciencey on you. So all those galaxies that the James Webb shows us. So we're carbon-based life forms, right? And that means that, carbon might not be the only form of life on these other places, these other galaxies or these other planets. Now, carbon uses water. It's based on water, and it uses light or chemicals as its source. So that's what carbon does. And all these configurations, right? Plants, animals, rocks, all of it. We also have silicon on Earth here. We use silicon in our microchips. So silicon is an elemental form. And that's important. But silicon oxidizes when it's in oxygen. So,
okay, wait.
So I'm just, hold on, I'm going somewhere. So if silicon oxidizes when it's in oxygen, it turns into a rock, basically. It can't support a living being in the way we need it to support life on this planet. But what would a silicon world look like? So we talked about Jupiter earlier. I'm going to shift to a planet nearby, to Saturn. And one of Saturn's moons, Titan. Now, Titan has the kind of environment that could sustain life if it were silicon-based. Okay? But we're not looking for that, right?
Right.
Like, as humans looking in these galaxies, we're not necessarily looking for silicon-based life or some other element on the periodic table.
Yeah, you're right about that. We're looking for the Goldilocks. I mean, that's where we're all. It's pointing.
We're looking for animals.
We're
looking for
telescope.
mammals.
We're looking for people.
Humanoids.
Yeah.
Quote, a people, right?
Yeah.
People that look like us.
Let me take that back. Us normies
Right.
are thinking of it as people,
Yeah.
but some of these scientists, they're just looking for signs of life.
Right.
period.
What are the different
Anything.
elements? What are the different, gases?
And they know they can find it in water, so they're looking for water
Sure.
you can.
That's
So
kind of a
they're-
shortcut, really.
They're lumping in, they're tossing in there like Earth-like planets just to kind of ramp up the support.
Yes.
For it.
So let me throw you another curveball because I'm on a roll. What about worlds that use thermal energy versus stellar radiation? So stellar radiation is sunlight.
Movement rather than sunlight.
Magnetism, yes. So sunlight is stellar radiation. Thermal energy. So a neutron star or a magnetar harvest energy from the star's magnetic field. Every star, the Earth has a magnetic field too.
Right.
It's a toric field. You've seen pictures of this.
Yeah.
Your heart is a torus. Your heart is a toric field as well. And
These are microphones, or
I'm sorry. Your heart is a toric field as well.
no? I mean the microphone.
Oh, yeah,
Is a toric
absolutely.
field.
Look at you with your knowledge. Thank you. Well, anyhow, imagine what kind of life would live on a planet that was not powered by stellar radiation. So you wouldn't have green plants that harvest sunlight and turn it into food, because that's what plants do. Chlorophyll does that transition. What would those look like? And again, I don't have an answer for this. I'm salting your imagination right now to make you thirsty for a new way of thinking. And then the last thing I'll leave you with that will blow your minds, and we can go on to the Anunnaki, is self-replicating machines that self-organize. And we have some examples of those. Mm-hmm. I've seen some examples of those here on Earth. And then that self-replicating machine creates the conditions for another machine to be built, and so on and so on and so on. But it's not organic life the way that we see it. So again, I think what James Webb does for our collective consciousness is open our minds to a completely different way of viewing what life is.
Mm-hmm. Well,
could life, okay, so you have life inside of, let's just say there's obviously planets inside this big giant nebulous that we saw.
Yes.
But can the whole nebulous be life too? Can that all be consciousness?
Oh, I think it is.
I mean, that's kind of where my mind goes, is that everything we're looking at is alive. If you want to do the tree thing, then I would say if I'm looking at something like that, it almost looks like it has a heartbeat. I mean, it's so organic and flowing. What would maybe not flowing,
it's
but
breathing. It's communicating.
The whole thing could be alive.
Yeah.
So what makes us so sure that the direction, the opposite direction, like how do we know that an atom is the smallest particle, right?
Oh, sure. It isn't actually, but
quark.
I know what you're getting at. Quark. How do we know that even a quark is the smallest molecule? I don't think that we do know that.
And the possibility that we may keep looking and we may be able to never see the bottom. We can go deeper and deeper, and maybe that's part of the matrix.
Yeah.
I said matrix.
Infinite bigness and infinite smallness.
Yeah.
Wow. And what's in that drink? You're carrying that around. It's looking like coffee, but I'm not sure.
But you never. I mean, that's the thing. We're there's probably we could come to some wall and we keep looking with the telescope. All of a sudden, we see the wall. It's got a little light switch on it. The
Truman Show?
Yeah. It's just, we see a wall. I doubt that.
That wall is zeros and ones?
Yeah. But maybe there's just no way. We'll just continue to look out like we'll continue to look down.
Yeah.
Those two things will never be solved. The possibility that we can continue to go farther and farther and farther.
I think it's probably already been solved with some deep acid trips.
Yeah, they've gotten to the bottom.
There's plenty of people.
There's some shamans that have gotten to the bottom.
Figured it out.
Yeah.
I do think this consciousness angle is the ultimate.
Yeah, me too.
And I always have that sort of, I'll say in the back of my mind that is the ultimate answer, and that all of the things that we're discussing and all of the things that we're imagining is our path to just get back to the beginning.
Yeah.
The strangest thing for me, though, out of all of this is, the consciousness on the level of humanity.
Yeah.
Because we share this world with so many other creatures, and we have no idea what their level of consciousness is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
you can see dolphins, octopi,
whales,
elephants. They're smart, aren't they?
Rats.
Hey, even the cockroaches you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I think they've got a sentience to them.
Maybe they're all like they're next level. Like they leveled up. They're like, we got to get out of this human thing. They're a bunch of idiots. We're going up to the next level, and that's cockroach.
I wonder if there are other planets out there that are sustaining life, if they have like a cockroach type thing that you know what I mean?
That they're all disgusted by.
Yeah.
I bet every planet does.
Yeah.
So, you remember the movie Luc Besson, Valerian City of a Thousand Planets? It has a scene. Well, the big opening scenes are phenomenal, and they really do get to what we're talking about. So that's on your to watch list. City of a Thousand Planets, Valerian. Luc Besson. I think he did Fifth Element as well.
Oh, okay.
So the scene starts out, I'm not giving anything away. It opens up with the space race on our planet and the Americans, and then the Americans shaking hands with the Russians, and then, the next group shaking hands with the Chinese, and the next group shaking hands with the Indians, and then the next group shaking hands with the Guatemalans, and right on and on and on. It shows.
Sounds very science fiction.
Right, and then shaking hands with another species, an insectoid species. The point I'm making is the City of a Thousand Planets grows because it's basically the space station that each planetary civilization, as we meet them, puts their own little city hooks it onto the space station so that it becomes the City of a Thousand Planets. And one of the species is these they're kind of like nanobots, but they live inside of the electronics that run the station. And they are the ones that make the repairs. They're the ones, and that is their job, and that is what they do, and that is their purpose. Just like the cockroach's purpose is to clean. They process dirt and heavy metals and other things, and they clean the soils with their bodies. It goes through their system, and what they leave behind, their excrement, actually is clean soil. Same with different bugs, different things. My point is everything has a purpose.
Wow, I didn't know that they were cleaners.
They clean.
Really?
They clean. A lot of insects clean.
Yeah, but
worms clean.
That's still not going to make me like them anymore.
I'm sure that
they just
need to like them, and they're food for other things.
Yeah.
But they clean. They're the cleanup crew. Ants are the cleanup crew too. But ants don't process it through them. They move stuff physically. Ants will take your crumbs. You want to know what an ant does? Leave a cookie. Leave just a few crumbs of a cookie and watch them clean it up and take it away, and it won't be there the next day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And birds do the same thing.
Suckerfish.
Yes.
They clean the bottom of
everything has a purpose.
Tank.
There's a video that I saw, and if I can find it, I'll insert it here on the video. But there's this video where these ants are like walking in circles. Have you seen that? And it's like, are they lost? Are they missing legs? Why are they doing that? I don't remember what the explanation was, but
have you seen the video where the ants form a natural bridge so that they can, bridge across large distances? That's how they do it. They hook to each other.
And they sacrifice.
Some of them get sacrificed, and they know that it's going to be
inevitable.
Yeah, bees also. And yet we have, you talk about this collective consciousness, which is in essence a hive mind. But I think that where we are in this moment in our evolution as a species is that while we are individuated, okay, if all of us is consciousness, and the one theory is that we all return to the one consciousness. Okay, great. I like that idea a lot. It's comforting. But in the meantime, we're individual consciousness. You're self-actualized. You have a set of filters named Lindy. I have a set of filters. JP has a set of filters. Yeah. And yet, we are a collective consciousness. So, the point being that where do I begin and end? Where do you begin and I end?
Okay, so here's another. This is trippy. We've probably talked about this before, but we're talking a little bit about the soul and about reincarnation. So it's possible that we're all up there, wherever there is, and we're still up there, but we're projecting a life down here. And we're projecting a life down here, but we're still up there. So our consciousness is basically, we're all connected because we're all one thing. Yeah. We're coming from the same place.
Like Avatar.
But we split off. Yeah. We split off to do this kind of learning and understanding, human nature and all the love, all those pieces and parts. But we're truly just, this is pretty common knowledge.
Yeah.
But we split off, and then we go back to the one source. So right now, us being an individual is what's meant to be. This is what we're meant to do. We aren't meant to completely intertwine ourselves. Yeah. So there's another thought, is that the opposite way, that the powers that be keep us apart because we're too strong collected. If we come together and we realize that our conscious minds can change our reality, we can do it, and it's been proven. It's been proven that it's done in groups. Yeah. I mean, there's some great proof of that. Then if we were able to do that as a complete society, we wouldn't need government. We wouldn't need all the higher ups to tell us what to do. So keep us apart. Those are two different ways of thinking about it.
Yeah. But that I love what you just said. That just describes the way I look at it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people talk about this, and it can be damaging. The talk. You know what I mean? Because there's people who go through horrific trauma, right? Yeah. And for somebody to say we can control that narrative.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, well, I mean, what the truth is showing us is the free will of people, you know, is more uncontrollable under those circumstances. You know what I mean? Like,
when you inject fear.
Well, it's not necessarily when you inject fear. When you inject just the reality that you have no control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopelessness.
Great.
No,
Right,
not
right.
hopelessness.
I don't know.
It's not
I think
hopelessness.
fear and hopelessness are very related.
Like if and I'm not trying to, you know, make this super bad, but when those people standing on the ledge of a window on 9/11, they had a choice whether to burn alive or to fall to their, or jump to their death. You know, did they have hope that maybe they might survive? No, they just knew that they didn't want to burn. You know what I mean? So, like, when you're standing at that, when you have to make that kind of fucked up decision, you know what I mean? That is like where that kind of thinking becomes, you know, you're like, I'm at a place right now where I don't have that kind of control.
Right.
So now,
Right.
as a soul, is that somebody who, you know, has to live through some, you know what I mean? Is that some kind of a...
Well, right, but there's there's certainly full religions and everything that talk about the idea of let go of control. You really don't control anything. I mean, I'm in a group that we talk about the idea of being okay with not being in control, and that's what gives you. There's a sense of well-being in that, when you know that you're just going to ride the wave, and whatever happens, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
One way or the other, you're going to be okay. Even if you die, you're going to be okay. The idea is this is the wave of life, and you don't have control of it. So there's a couple of different ways of thinking. I don't know. I like to think that we're more powerful as groups than we are individuals, and I would love to see us come together more, even if it isn't like, you know, our minds are going to melt everything and we have a whole new reality. No, but the idea of us connecting better and making some group decisions, I think, is incredibly powerful if we could ever do it.
Well, I think, you know, that's the way that civilizations have done their thing. You know, like, that's why we vote. That's why we have, you know, the way the government, you know, that's why we have a government, because we know that people don't have any control. So we have to have a force there to control people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, yes, you're right. There's power in numbers, but also there is power in solitude. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between being alone and having solitude. So I think sometimes when we talk about, like, when the shit hits the fan and we have to think about survival,
Apocalypse,
okay, whatever.
EVP.
A lot of people are going to be, they're afraid. The fear kicks in because they don't know, A, what's going to happen, and B, they know they're going to lose a lot.
Yep.
Those societal norms, those classes that people are in, is going to be crushed immediately
To a powder.
Yeah. So
Won't exist anymore. Yeah, then all you have is who you are.
yeah, and you got to figure out really quick where these numbers are, because the numbers that you had before are no longer there anymore.
The artifice is all gone.
And then it comes down to, and I love this saying, and I try to live by this a little bit. You can't change what happens to you, but you can change how you're affected by it.
Yeah.
So the
And what
people
you
that will
read.
be strong are the people that can accept what's happening to them.
And without going into panic.
That's
mode.
right. It's like, it's going to happen to you. It's happening to all of us. how are you affected by it? It's the same thing where, it's not how many times you fall, it's how you get back up.
That's
but there's really something to that fact that, how are you affected by it? And that's going to be the strong and the weak.
So going back to the James Webb scenario, there are people that actually believe that we are the most advanced, and that possibly there's no life out there.
Just like there were no dinosaurs, those kind of.
No, I don't even think that. I don't even just people who they're like, let's not even focus on that.
Yeah.
Let's not. We have so much more problems here.
Maybe that just puts them on a different timeline than us.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure.
Because we accept that there is something that is beyond that is different than us. I'll just say different. I'm not going to say it's better. I'm not going to say it's worse. I'll just say it's different, and it's life expressing itself in a different form. And all we do here, Eckhart Tolle talks about this, is this life is really playing with form. Whether it's, music is art, how many ways can you organize the notes? It's playing with form, all of it. And I've got to believe that the creator and the power the creators invested in all the galaxies and all the nebula, they're just playing with form too.
Right.
And everything I talked about earlier is about playing with form. Are you carbon based? Are you silicon based? Are you crystal? Are you going to be a plant? Are you going to be a tree? Are you going to be a rock? Are you going to use thermal energy? Are you going to use stellar radiation? What are you going to use?
Or the soul, or the creators, or whatever
That's the physical manifestation.
Yeah, they just gave an environment for that to happen.
Yes.
They gave us an ecosystem for all those things to form. In whatever way they can, whatever way they will, they gave us the format or the.
That's right. There might be a series of templates and raw materials, and you get to choose.
Right.
Choose your own adventure.
Well, I mean, like the photos that we're seeing, like I said it before we hit record. Wouldn't it be great if we found out that you take the Hubble picture, and you've seen these. You have the Hubble picture, and then you have the James Webb picture, and they're superimposed together. But this one is more got
clear.
It's got more
magnification.
Yeah, you can see more stars.
Got more stuff in
detail. Yeah.
So I mean, it's possible that they could be just not only filtered but completely fabricated. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that blow your mind?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
The James Webb is all there for manipulating our minds
It's possible,
somehow.
right? I mean, just imagine, like, everybody has their own POV,
point of view, yeah.
And so we have all these different points of view. However many people there's that many points of view. There's that many different realities. So when you see somebody's story come on TV saying that, hey, I was abducted by aliens, whether they're honest or not, it doesn't matter because it's their point of view, right? I mean, yeah, we could find out if they were telling the truth or not, but there's millions of them, right? So these are these people's realities. Just imagine if one of your friends came up to you and they were dead serious when they said, you're not going to believe this. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what? And they go, I have been waking up every day and it's been the same day for years. I have been living the same day. I mean, we know they've been making movies about it, but you're like, what are you talking about? Do you believe them? You know what I mean?
God, probably not. It would take a lot more for me to believe.
But they're like, dude, I'm telling you, this is serious. I've been living the same day.
Right.
I've been living it for so long, I don't even remember what happened yesterday. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, like, there's so many different things that out there that, just can blow your mind in one way or another. I mean, I don't even know why I thought it. I thought of that because, like, I started thinking of. Hold on a second. It's next door, I think. Or was it outside?
Might have been outside, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody driving by.
I don't know. I was thinking about Jupiter being made of mostly gas,
Right.
hydrogen and helium, and they don't even know what the core is. And that is like almost within walking distance compared to those images on the James Webb photos.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, if we don't even know what the core, we don't even know what the core of,
Our planet is.
yeah, I mean, they got a stinking suspicion.
Well,
but-
sure, but nobody's drilled down there and found out. That's a
Right.
theory. That
Yeah.
really is a theory.
Well, it's made of some iron because it has a magnetic field.
Right, right.
So I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's the theory.
Yeah.
But let's bring this amazing, romp to a close and say that a couple of things have risen to the surface here. We human beings have created this thing called a James Webb Space Telescope with all these specifications to peer out into the deep space, into the unknown, to see back into our past. We're doing this with the consciousness that we have today, in this dimension, the third dimension, maybe the fourth, depending on who you ask. But we're doing it to look at physical things. And whereas we all are inhabiting the same consciousness. So the images that are being sent back to us, as fascinating as they are doing something to shape our understanding of what this dimension is. And whether they're coming from someone else or somebody else.
Allegedly.
Of course, allegedly. Or whether they are, in fact, a nod from the infinite. I think we'll have to wait and see as we explore more of the gray area. Thank you.
Adios.